So when we are naming organic molecules or organic compounds, we name them using the IUPAC standard. Okay, so we name them using the IUPAC standard. So basically, there's an international standard that we use to name this. So there's a it's known as an international institution of pure and applied chemistry. Okay, so IUPAC is just an institution that is the one deciding on the names that are to be used in organic molecules. So in case if you guys want to do chemistry at a later stage, maybe you want to do chemical engineering, majoring with chemistry, or you want to do Bachelor of Science in Chemistry at some point, you guys would have to know how to name compounds using the IUPAC standard, because these are the compounds that we use each and every day, guys. For example, you guys drink pills. Pills contain aspirin. Aspirin is an organic compound. You guys eat vinegar at home. You know, when you buy some French fries, some chips, you guys put some vinegar on it. Vinegar, it is actually containing an organic compound, which is ethanoic acid, because ethanoic acid is found in vinegar. So these compounds, guys, they are very significant to our lives. This is not just studying for the sake of studying. If you want to take this to the next level at some point, you will need to use this, or you will need to apply this. That is why there's this thing known as applied chemistry. So since you are grade 12s, I'm telling you this because you are grade 12s. So at some point you will need, guys, to go into the workplaces and stuff whereby you will need to apply this knowledge. So we're not just studying it for the sake of studying. All right. So it is very important to name organic compounds so that we can recognize if the chemical is the one that we should use or is the one that we shouldn't use for a certain thing. So an IUPAC name, it consists of 3 parts. Okay, so it has got a prefix. Guys, I'm teaching you basic English at this point. For us to have a name, it must have a prefix, it must have a root name, it must also have a suffix. You guys know what a prefix is, right? What is a prefix? What is a prefix? When I'm saying a prefix in just basic English, when I'm talking about a prefix. Yes, Orifa?
It's the few letters that come before the word, like before the root word.
Yes. Basically, it is the first part of the name. The prefix is more like the first part of the name, and then the root name is the middle part. Then the suffix is the last part of the name. So far, when I did introductions to organic chemistry, I told you guys that the suffix indicates the homologous series, like the last part of the name indicates the homologous series. So for now, we are not going to talk about the branched chain. We are going to start with the unbranched ones. So you guys should know that the prefix of an IUPAC name, it represents the branched chain or the substituent. Just call it the branched chain, or you can say it's known as the substituent. That is the prefix. But for now, let us ignore it. Let's just ignore it for now, because we're going to start with unbranched compounds. The root name of an organic the root name of an organic compound, it shows us the number of carbons on the parent chain. That is why I introduced to you guys what a parent chain is. So the root name, it indicates the number of carbons on the parent chain, and then the suffix will tell us the homologous series to which this particular organic compound belongs. All right, let's take this example. For example, you have got 2 names that are provided here. The first one, it says that here we have got a 3-methylbutane. So this is the name of an organic compound, is 3-methylbutane. So now let's just analyze this name. So the first part of the name, which is 3-methyl, this is the side chain, or this is the substituent. But because I told you guys that we're ignoring it for now, don't look at it, but just know that this is our prefix. Our prefix, or the first part of the name, it is telling us of the of the side chain, of the branched chain. That's the prefix of the name. Then the root name here, it is the but. So the root name, it is the it is the but there. Do you guys see the but after the 3-methyl? There's a but there. Do you guys see it? This but.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so this but, it tells us of, it is the root name. Okay, this but, it is the root name. What does it tell us? It tells us the number of carbons on the parent chain. So basically, you use these tables that I've drawn here to be able to figure out how many carbons according to the name. For example, this first table here, it shows the number of carbon atoms and the root name that we use for it. So if the parent chain has got only 1 carbon atoms, we use the root name meth, or you can say meth. So this meth, whenever you see your name, whenever you see your root name in an organic compound having an METH and a meth, it means that the parent chain, it consists of only 1 carbon. When you see an eth, when you see a compound having an eth as the root name, it means that the parent chain has got 2 carbons. When you see a prop, in the root name, it means that the parent chain has got 3 carbons. When you see a bute, B-U-T, we pronounce this as a bute, right? When you see a bute in the root name, it means that we're having 4 carbons in the parent chain. When you see a pent, so the pent tells you that we're having 5 carbons in the parent chain. When you see the hex, when you see a hex in the root name, it means that we're having what? 6 carbons in the parent chain. I'm sure you guys now know what a parent chain is, right? And then now when you see the hept, it means that we're having 7 carbons in the parent chain. When you see an oct, it means that we're having 8 carbons. So we can have 9, which is a non, we can have 10, which is a dec, but for now, you are in grade 12. Usually, the compounds that you're going to be given, the maximum number of carbons in the parent chain will always be 8. You won't have any compound that will have more than 8. All right, so basically, when you look at this name that we have here in question, let's just go back to this name. We say that the root name is the bute there. So please tell me how many carbons are found in the parent chain of this compound. This BUT, what does it tell you?
4.
4. Yes, it tells us that this compound that we are having its name here, it is having 4 carbons in the parent chain, because the root name there is BUT, is bute. There is a bute. So when there is a bute, it indicates that we're having 4 carbons. Where? In the parent chain, not anywhere else. In the parent chain, guys. Specifically in the parent chain. Yes, Mahlodi?
No, I read the hand by mistake. Sorry, sir.
Okay, so this bute will always tell us that we're having what? We are having 4 carbons in the main chain. Okay, let's just try to identify the same thing on the other compound. So we say that this 2.2 diethyl, it is the prefix. Let's just ignore it for now because we haven't done the substituents. We are still doing the unbranched ones. Okay, so this pent here, this is 2.2 diethyl pentin. This pent here, what does it tell you guys? This root name, which is the pent, what does it tell you? Yes, Nogu?
This is 5 carbons in it.
In where?
In the chain.
Which chain? You must be specific, guys. That's why I introduced the side chain and the parent chain, so that you don't. Hey, I don't want you guys to confuse this. You must be specific. This pent, which is the root name, it tells us that our compound is having 5 carbons in the parent chain. The chain, the chain that is having the most number of carbons is having 5 carbons. Okay, so do you guys see the significance of a root name in that way?
Yes.
Yes, so the root name, it can be either one of these. It can be a meth, eth, prop, bute, pent, hex, hept, oct. Okay, so it tells you how many carbons are found in the parent chain, on the parent chain. What about the suffix? The last part of the name, the suffix, I've already told you guys when I was introducing each and every homologous series that the last part of a name, it tells you the homologous series. So if it's an alkane, the last part of the name of an alkane is an ane from the alkane. Okay, so the last part of the name will be ane. If it's an alkene, the last part will be in. here. If it's an alkyne, the last part will be "-ine". If it's a haloalkane, it will be just the same as the alkane, of course. If it's an alcohol, the last part will be "-ol". Don't say "anol", guys, say "-ol". There is a reason for that. Okay, if it's a carboxylic acid, you can say it's an anoic acid at the end. You guys will see the reason why the suffixes are like this. Why did I make them like this? If it's a ketone, at the end you must have an "-one". Not really an unknown, it's an "-one". One O-N-E is like one. There must be a one at the end. If it's an aldehyde, it must be an anal at the end. So the last part of the name must be anal if it's an aldehyde. If it's an ester, the last part must be "-oate". So basically the last part of the name, aka the suffix of the name of the organic compound, tells you the homologous series to which it belongs. For example, when you look at this first name that we are given, this first IUPAC name that we are given, which is 3-methylbutane, at the end, what is the suffix that you can, what does the suffix tell you, Mahlodi?
Sir,
Yes.
the suffix of aldehydes is not EL. If I
EL.
say EL is correct
AL.
or wrong.
You mean AL?
AL.
Yeah, it is the
Yeah.
same. Yeah, it is the same, but
Yeah.
anal is still fine. There will never be a question, guys, whereby they will ask you what is the suffix of the aldehyde, as long as you are able to identify it. Others just use the AL part, the last part, which is AL, but others use the anal. But don't worry, at some stage I will show you why I wrote it in this way particularly. Okay, so now back to my question here. The compound one, the IUPAC name one that we're given here, which is 3-methylbutane. What is the suffix of this IUPAC name, which is 3-methylbutane? What is the suffix, the last part of the name, and what does it indicate? Someone quick. Yes, Nogu.
So the suffix is "-ane". It's an
Yes.
It's an
Yes.
alkane.
Yes, the suffix is "-ane", A-N-E, so it means this is an alkane. So this compound is an alkane. Okay, let's go to compound number 2. When you look at compound number 2, what is the suffix and what does it tell you of? Yes, let's hear from who's raising their hands there. Okay, let's hear from Nogu again.
So it ends with "-ine", which is an alkane.
Yes, which is on what? Please repeat for me. I beg your pardon.
Alkene, sir.
Yes, it ends with an "-ine", which is an E-N-E. So it means that this compound is an alkene. It must have double bond in it. So that's simply the naming standard, guys. Like a simple naming standard. Okay, let's just try to do a bit of practice and apply that. Let's name these unbranched alkanes. You see, we are starting with the unbranched ones. They're like straight chains alkanes. They've got only straight chains. We don't have any side chains. Okay, let me start with a simple one before we get to these ones provided. If I give you this compound CH4, what is this compound known as? You guys know CH4. What is the name of this compound? Yes, Lihotle says that this is methane, and also someone else said the same. He said methane. Now you guys have always known this as methane, but you didn't even know why it is named as methane. Now let's just break it down. In a structural formula, because this is a molecular formula, right? So in a structural formula, we're having one carbon that is bonded to 4 other hydrogens. So it's one carbon bonded to 4 hydrogen. So this is our compound, and you guys can see that here we don't really have a long chain of carbons. We only have got one chain. It's like we only have got one carbon in the only chain. So this one carbon tells us that this is a what? A meth. So our root name here, it is going to be what? Meth. You guys see the meth from the table here, METH.
Yes.
Yes, that is why the first part of this name, it has got a what? It has got a meth. There is no side chain here, so we start with the root name straight away, which is the meth part. Then the last part of the name, it is what? It is an A. Do you see, guys, that it's an A? So what does this tell us?
It's an alkane.
Yeah, it's an alkane. So that's the first, the simplest primary alkane that we can have. It is methane. Now let's name these ones. You guys now know how to identify the number of carbons in the parent chain. So this compound A, how many carbons is it having in the parent chain? It's having 2 carbons. You can see that we're only having 2 carbons, right? So let's go back to our table. Our table says that when we have got 2 carbons in the parent chain, what name are we going to assign to this, to the root name? Yes, it's an eth. It's an ETH. You guys can see that here, that if we're having 2 carbons in the parent chain, we put eth. So I'm going to write eth as the root name. This is eth. That's my root name. It's eth. Remember, guys, these are all unbranched. We don't have any side chains, so don't worry about the prefix for now. We just start at the root name is eth. And then the last part of the name, what must it be? What must be the last? What must this be, Lekgotle? It must be an ain. Give a reason for your answer. Why must we use ain as the last part of the name?
Because it is an alkane.
Yes, guys, remember the last part tells you of the homologous series to which the compounds belong. So in this case, you can see that here, the carbons, between them, they've got only single bonds. This is just there's only one single bond here. So we don't have any other things, just a functional group of an alkane. So this is ethane. That's how we name it. It's ethane. So it's pretty simple, guys. What about the name of compound B? Let's hear how many carbons are in the parent chain. Yes, Orifa?
It's propane.
We are having 3 carbons. Let's take it step by step. We are having 3 carbons in the parent chain, which is the only chain that's available. And when we go back to our naming standard table, when we have got 3 carbons in the parent chain, we use the prop. So I'm going to write prop first as the root name. Prop. It's an unbranched, so I won't write anything before the prop. I won't write anything because it's not branched yet. There's no side chain here, right? You can see that, guys. So what is the last part of this name? Yes, Mahlodi?
Ain, sir.
Yes, it's an ain because this is an alkane. We are going to use ain, so this is propane. Okay, so I think you guys have grasped the concept. Let's go to C. What is the name of this compound? Yes, Mahlodi?
Butane.
Yes, the name of this compound is butane because we have got 4 carbons in the main chain. In the parent chain, we're having 4 carbons. And when we go to our reference table, when we've got 4 carbons in the parent chain, we use the root name but. So that's going to be butane. Okay, the ain part is just telling you that this is an alkane. What about the compound D? What is compound D? Yes, let's hear from Yonela.
Pentane.
This is pentane. Do you guys see where it is coming from? The pent tells us that we have got 5 carbons in the longest chain. If you count the number of carbons, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is pentane. This is pentane. So the last part of the name, which is the ain, which is the suffix, it tells you that this is an alkane. Let's go to E. What is the name of compound E? Yes, Yonela?
Hexane, sir.
It's hexane. Yes, it is hexane. The hex tells us that we're having what? We're having 6 carbons in the longest chain or in the parent chain. And then the last part of the name, which is the ain, it tells you that this is an alkane. Guys, how simple is this? How hard can this be, naming alkanes? Is it hard?
It's easy for now, sir.
It's definitely not hard. It's not hard, right? It's not hard at all, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's go to something that needs a bit of more strength. Now we are done naming alkanes, the unbranched alkanes, the alkanes that don't have a side chain. Those are unbranched alkanes. Now we are going to unbranched alkenes. So we are shifting our homologous cells to alkenes, but still our compound is unbranched. So it means that we don't have any side chain in it. Here's a rule: always indicate the position of the functional group, i.e. the number of the carbon that has the functional group for alkenes with more than 2 carbons. Did you guys hear the statement here? Always indicate the what? The position of the functional group. What do we mean? Okay, so let's look at the first compound, guys. The first compound here is having 2 carbons. You guys can see that we're having 2 carbons here. So this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2. Okay, so when we number them, we can just number these ones randomly because they are only 2. So this is 1, this is 2. So this is carbon number 1 and carbon number 2, and there's a double bond between them. That's a functional group for alkenes. Now we use the same naming standard for the root name. Since we have got 2 carbons in the parent chain, because that's the only chain that's available, when we go back to our reference table here, when we've got 2 carbons in the parent chain, we use the name F. So we must have an ETH. So let me write an ETH just in case. I'm going to write a what? An E. I'm going to write an ETH. ETH. And now this is only having 2 carbons, so there's no stress. For alkenes, what is the last part of the name for alkene?
In.
In. So at the end we must have an ENE. So at the end you must have a what? An ENE. So this is ethene. Ethene. Okay. This is ethene. It's having a double bond. Okay, it's quite simple. We're only having 2 carbons, nothing to stress about. You are not even stressing about anything. Let's go to B. This compound is having 3 carbons in the main chain. It's having 3 carbons in the main chain. Now, I want to number these carbons, guys. There are 2 ways of numbering these carbons, but one of them is correct. I can say this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2, this is carbon 3. I have numbered the carbons from left to right. Or I can number them from right to left and say that this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2, this is carbon 3. So I can number my carbons in the chain, in the parent chain. I can number my carbons either from left to right or from right to left. Now I told you that we're having these both ways, but only one of them is correct. Now let me hear, which one is the correct way of counting the number of carbons here? Yes, no?
Right to left.
From right to left. So this one is the correct one, the one that I've counted in green. So counting the number of carbons from right to left is the correct one. Why, Nogu? Yes, Orifa? Okay, yes, no, you can continue.
No, she can answer, sir.
Okay, Orifa, you can answer.
So, because if you count from right to left, the carbon with the double bond will have the lowest number. I don't know if I'm wording it right.
Yes, that's the correct wording. So basically, guys, you need to number the carbons from the carbon that is closest to the functional group. That is the phrasing that we usually use. So when you are numbering the carbons, try to number the carbons from the carbon that is the most closest to the functional group. And in this case, guys, when you see the functional group, where is the functional group? It is here. This is the functional group. So when you are numbering your carbons, you shouldn't start from this carbon here and say this is carbon 1, because it is very far from the double bond, which is our functional group. Okay, you should number your carbons from the carbon that is the most closest to the functional group. And in this way, in this case, you can see that we are only having this carbon. That is the one that is the most closest to the functional group. So this carbon, which is carbon number, that's going to be your carbon number 1. This one will be carbon 2, and the other one will be carbon 3. So whenever you are numbering the carbons, you number the carbons from the carbon that is the most closest to the functional group. In this case, our functional group is the double bond because this is an alkene. So now let's give this a name. What is the name of compound B? Yes, Orifa?
So it's prop 1 in.
Really?
So isn't it prop 1?
Prop
Prop
E.
1. I mean, yes, prop 1 in. So isn't it prop 1 in?
Yes, it is correct to say it in that way. But this one, since, okay, I will tell you the reason later on, Uti, why do you just call it propene? But just to make it simple, using IUPAC standards, once you have got 3 carbons in your main chain, right? Once you've got 3 carbons in the main chain, you must tell us where your functional group is. On which carbon is your functional group? In this case, guys, where is the functional group? On which carbon is the functional group? Let's hear from a Nogu. On which carbon is the functional group for compound B?
I can say the answer, but okay, it's what did you say, sir?
On which carbon is the functional group?
1.
Let's hear. Yes, no. Savage. On which carbon is the functional group?
One, sir.
But the functional group is the double bond. Is between carbon 1 and carbon 2. Why did you choose 1?
Because it must be the one after one. How can I explain this? It can't be 2 because the double bonded carbon, it mustn't, like, what can I say? Ngathi akumele idlule double bond ngasho kanjalo.
Okay, ngiyayizwa ngaleyo ndlela. Alright, so guys,
So it's
here,
1 dash propane.
yes. Okay, so guys, here the double bond, the double bond, which is our functional group, is between carbon 1 and carbon 2. Is between carbon 1 and carbon 2. But when you are naming this, you are going to say that the double bond is found on carbon 1. Why do you say that? It's because the functional group must always occupy the lowest carbon, okay, like the lowest position of the carbon. Like, for example, here, since it's between carbon 1 and carbon 2, we will say that it is on carbon number 1 because it must always occupy the lowest position. Okay, so the number on the functional group must be the smallest one. So between carbon 1 and carbon 2, the smallest number there is carbon 1. So you will say that the double bond is on carbon 1. Okay, so when you are naming this, you still use the same standards and you take you count the number of carbons. We're having 3 carbons in the parent chain, so that is going to be your prop. So I'm going to take and say this is your prop. But since we are having more than 2 carbons, so whenever your alkene has got more than 2 carbons, you must tell us before you write the suffix. Tell us which carbon is having the functional group, and in this case we say that is going to be carbon number 1. So I'm going to say this is prop dash 1, and then I'm going to write the suffix and say this is ENE because this is an alkene. So this is prop 1 in. There's another way of writing it, but now let's just finish explaining this one first. Okay, so the prop there, it is telling us that we're having 3 carbons in our our main chain, because we're taking it from our reference table, guys, that when we're having 3 carbons in the longest chain or in the parent chain, it must be a prop. So basically here this prop is telling us that we're having 3 carbons in the main chain. But because this is now an alkene and we're having more than 2 carbons, what must we do? We must number. Okay, So there's someone's mic who's open here. I don't know whose mic, but okay. Since here we see that since here we see that we're having a prop, it tells us that we're having 3 carbons in the longest chain or in the parent chain. But you must also tell us here at the end, before you write the suffix, because this suffix tells us that this is an alkene, indicate where the functional group of the alkene is found. And in this case, it is found on carbon 1. I should have already said, why are we choosing carbon 1, not carbon 2? So this is prop 1 in. Or to make things simpler for you, instead of writing the number in the middle here, you can just say this is 1 propene. So you can just write it as 1. You can just say 1 propene. So the examiner will see that this 1, it is telling you where you find your functional group. So you can either write it before the suffix, or you can write it before the root name. Yes, Orifa?
So either or is correct.
Yes. Either one of it's either the first one or the second one. It's the same thing. So you can either write it before you write the suffix, which is in. You can write the number where you find the functional group, or you can start with the number, then you can write the root name and as well as the suffix without any numbers. Yes, no.
Yes, I wanted to say or ask, sir, you can't use this one when there's a single chain, isn't it, sir?
When there's a
single chain.
Single bonds, you meant?
No, like parasites, sir.
When you're having try to use the terms that we've been using. Are you trying to say branched or unbranched?
A branched one, sir.
Okay, when it is branched, you can still use the same naming standard. Don't worry, I'll show you how when we get to the branched. You can still use the same naming standard. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yes, Savage?
I don't agree with the first answer. Prop 1E.
Why not?
Because you told us that we must open the functional group if you have more than 3 carbons.
Okay, you can read the statement again. Okay, if you have got more than 2 carbons, okay, for now, for you as matrix, is acceptable to say prop 1 in, but the actual name is propene for this one, which is B. Only for this one, there is a reason for that. It is because the double bond can never be in any other position. But for you to not complicate things, just say that whenever you have got more than 2 carbons, that is when you start using the standard. More than 2 carbons, by the way, Savage.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, at some point I will explain to you why the term propene can still work for B, but please indicate the position. For now, 1 propene, they will mark it correct because it's correct indeed, but later on I will tell you why alternatively you can just say propene. Yes, Orifa?
Can I ask about the second answer, right?
Yes.
So isn't it gonna get complicated when now there's a substituent? Are you not gonna be forced to move that one into prop 1 in so that you can put your substituent in the front? I don't know if what I'm making is adding up.
Yes, you're making a very good point. Nogu also asked the same thing, and I said that when you're gonna have a branch, it'll still work. Don't worry, we'll get there. Okay, so we are going to for another 10 minutes break, guys. When you come back, we need to finish up everything and also doing the naming of unbranched alkynes, then we can go to sleep. When we come back next time, we're going to be doing the branched ones, and I will also send you an activity at some time. So for now, let's just go to the 10 minutes break now. When we come back, we're just going to do touch base and finish up with these unbranched hydrocarbons. Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video, and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes. Let's go to compound number C, guys. Compound C. When we go to compound C, let's just see the parent chain. How many carbons does the parent chain have on compound C?
4.
Yes, it has got 4 carbons. Okay, so we already know that we're going to have a root name that is going to be somewhere around bute, because when you just go back to our reference table again, you guys now know that 4 carbons will mean that the root name will have a bute in it. Okay, so this is going to be a what? This is going to be something that has got a bute. But now remember, guys, that we need to number our carbons here. Okay, and we number the carbons from the carbon that is the most closest to the functional group. Okay, so if we say that this is carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, and carbon 4, and we say the other direction, if we count from right to left, that's going to be carbon 1, this is going to be carbon 2, this is going to be carbon 3, this is going to be carbon 4. So which one, guys, is the right way to count for compound C? The first one or the second one? Yes, no. Yes, no go.
It's both.
Both. Yes, both, guys. Both of them, they are the right ones. Why do you say both of them they are the right ones? No.
Because even if you start the same, so
yeah, it's the same, guys. It's the same. Even if you count from left to right and from right to left, the functional group will still be at the same position in a sense. Okay, it will still be on carbon number 2. Yes, Orifa, what's your question?
So I want to ask, so is it not going to be like a general thing? Like, let's say the straight, like I'm just talking about the straight ones, right? Since we're doing the straight ones, the unbranched ones.
Yes.
So would it not be like a general thing that if the carbons are an even number, you can just count from any side because it'll still be the same?
Nope. Definitely not. Definitely not.
Really?
Yes, because this is only the one that will be that will apply there, because it's a kind of a symmetrical molecule. But later on, if we're gonna have 6 carbons, you cannot always count in the same way. It will depend on where your double bond is positioned. Definitely not. Please cut that out, because it's definitely going to make you to apply the wrong mathematics and then eventually count in the wrong way. Just count manually from the carbon that is the closest one to the functional group. So I can count from right to left or from left to right. For this one is the same, because all of them will lead to me having the carbon, the double bond. You can see, guys, that it is between carbon 2 and carbon 3. Even if I count from left to right, the double bond will still be between carbon 2 and carbon 3. But now the question is, if I want to write my name here, I've already written the root name is bute, and now I want to write the homologous series, which is ENE. Am I just gonna say this is butene, or what? Yes, no. What am I gonna say?
going to say 2 dash
butene. Yes, it's bute dash 2 dash in. Or you can just say that this is 2-butene. Okay, so here after writing the root name, which is the bute, which is telling us the number of carbons in the parent chain, you write the position of the functional group. In this case, this is alkenes, and remember, guys, we've already said that for alkenes, the double bond is between 2 carbons. Which one are you going to write? You're going to write the lowest carbon. For example, here it's between carbon 2 and carbon 3, so we're going to say it's on carbon 2. That's the lowest carbon. Then the last part, we are going to write the ENE, which is telling us the homologous series. Or if you don't want to write the name within, if you don't want to write the position within the name, you can just take it out and just write the 2 first, then just write a normal butene. So these 2, the examiner already knows, or a chemist already knows, that this 2 is telling us that the functional group for this alkene, or the double bond, is found on carbon number 2. Is it hard, guys?
No.
Let's go to compound D. Compound D is having how many carbons in the longest chain?
Also,
This is still 4 carbons in the longest chain. And when we are numbering them, are we going to number them from left to right, or are we going to number them from right to left? Which one is the most correct one?
Left to right.
Yes, left to right. Because if we number them like this, if we say 1, 2, 3, 4 in this way, this is going to be incorrect, because we have numbered from this carbon, which is so far away from the functional group, which is the double bond. So the first thing that you do before you start naming, you locate the functional group. You go and locate that this is our functional group, which is the double bond. So I'm going to number from the carbon that is the most closest to the functional group. In this case, it is carbon number 1. Obviously, guys, you cannot number from the carbon in the middle. You start from the carbon at the end, at the terminal carbon. So these are 4. So we are still using the same root name, which is but, just like in the previous one. But now tell me the position of the double bond. What is the position?
1.
Yes, Nobu?
1, sir.
Yes, it's but 1 and it's in at the end. Or you can say that this is 1 butene. This is 1 butene. Okay, so it's now pretty simple, guys, for you to see that the double bond is between carbon 1 and carbon 2, but we're going to write carbon 1 as the position of the functional group, or the position of the double bond. Reason being, we want the double bond to occupy the lowest position, in a sense. So basically, this is 1 butene. Guys, do you see that compound C and compound D, they look alike? Like all of them, they've got 4 carbons. All of them, they've got an equal number of carbons and equal number of hydrogens. But those 2 are different compounds, like literally different compounds. You'll only find out that 1 butene, it is used maybe for cooking. It is found in your spices and whatnot. And you find out maybe 2 butene, it is used for your washing soap. Okay, so basically these 2 are different compounds. All right, although they might have the same number of carbons and the same number of hydrogens, but they are different. They act differently. They are used differently in many different applications. So don't just underestimate and just say butene. That's why you must mention the position of the double bond, because it affects some of its physical properties. It makes it different. Yes, no, what was your question?
Also, I know. I wanted to ask. Does this mean they are? I know that we are not in this section. Does this mean they are in isomer?
Yes, they're isomers of each other. They're isomers of each other, but we're still going to get there later on to know what are isomers. But just know, guys, that these are 2 different compounds. Although they look alike, all of them, they've got a butene in them, but the position of the double bond is different. Let's go to E. Let's go to E, guys. What is the number of carbons in the main chain, in the longest chain, or the parent chain? Yes, Mahlodi.
Can please repeat that?
Yes, Mahlodi.
Carbon.
We are having
5 carbon.
Yes, we're having 5 carbons in the main chain, or in the parent chain, we're having 5 carbons. And now when we want to number our carbons, are we going to number from left to right or from right to left? Yes, Mahlodi. Yes, it's left to right. We're gonna say that that's going to be, yeah, that's gonna be our carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5. Because if you're gonna number them from right to left, you're gonna find out that you're gonna start with this carbon that is so far away from the functional group, which is the double bond. So you must number from the carbon that is closest to the functional group. So let's just go and say that since we're having 5 carbons in the parent chain, so we're gonna use the root name pent. So if you guys forget these names, you just go to your reference table. It's not given in the exam, so you must know these names, of course. So if we're having 5 carbons in the main chain, we use pent as the root name. So here you're gonna write pent. And then now, since this is an alkene, you must indicate where the double bond is. The double bond here is on which carbon? Guys, 2, carbon 2, and then the suffix is ene. So this is pent 2-ene, or you can say this is 2-pentene. You can just take out the 2 out of this and just write a normal pentene, but the 2 there will be indicating that your double bond, it is found on the what? On the carbon that is having on carbon 2, basically. That's what it means. Okay, let's go to F. I've already numbered this for you. Yeah, I've already numbered this for you. I don't know if it's correct or not. You guys will tell me. Did I number this correctly? F.
No.
That's it.
What's wrong with it, my lord? What's wrong with it?
Because we take the shorter number of carbon, then when we come from right to left, we get the shorter number. It's nearly to
Yes,
the double bond.
exactly. So we count from this carbon and say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. So this is a wrong naming standard that I used here. So I just wanted to see if you guys could identify that in the first place. So now you just give the name you're having here. You're having 5 carbons in the main chain. So you're still going to use a pent there. But now your double bond is position what? Position 2, right? So this is still pent 2-ene. So basically compound E and compound F, it is the same compound, guys. Do you see that?
Yes.
They're not different. They're not different. It's just that one is rotated, another one is just like a mirror image. They're not different. It's still the same compound, still the same number of carbons, same number of hydrogens, same position of the functional group. Guys, is this hard?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. Let's just do the same for the unbranched alkynes. Okay, so when you do the same for the unbranched alkynes, I forgot to edit here. This is alkynes. Okay, so the simplest alkyne that we can have, it has got 2 carbons. This is 1 carbon, this is another carbon. Okay, so now my question is here, what is the name of this compound, which is compound A? I'll call it compound A. What is the name?
It's an alkyne.
The name, of the homologous
The name,
series.
sir.
Yes. Yes, Nonkulego.
Sikhuluma ngo-A.
Yes, compound A. This one, the first one, guys. This linear compound here.
This is ethine.
This is ethine. Okay. Let's analyze how Nonkulego got that name. Remember, guys, this is unbranched. The root name eth, it is telling us that we're having 2 carbons in the parent chain, and indeed here we're having 2 carbons indeed. Then the last part, it is the YNE. So the YNE, the ine, it is telling us that our homologous series there, it is going to be what? It is going to be one of the alkyne. Remember, guys, that for alkynes, the suffix or the last part of the name, if you go to our reference table here, the alkynes, the suffix of the name is YNE. So at the end of the name of an alkyne, you must have a YNE. So that's ethine. Okay. The common name is known as ethylene, but don't worry about that. But this is ethine. Okay. Let's look at compound B, guys. Let's say this is our compound B. What is the name of this compound? Yes, Nobu.
1-, propine.
Yes, 1-propine. Or what is the alternative way that you can write this one?
Prop dash 1 dash YNE.
YNE. So you can say this is prop 1-ine, or you can say this is 1-propine. Don't forget, guys, of course, the prop is telling us that we're having 3 carbons in the parent chain. We are having the YNE is telling us the homologous series is alkynes. Then this one, it is telling us that our triple bond is found on carbon number 1. Because when we number them here from left to right, this is going to be carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3. Yes, Sam?
So sir, angeke ba-eliminate if ngizibhala ziyi-2 ngibefune eyodwa.
Just write 1 to make things simpler for you. Asikho izinto sothi uzubhale ezo-2.
Okay sir.
Yes, yes, Nonkululeko.
So if ubhala ukuthi propine uzoba wrong because wena usewathi okay uyayibona ngithi i-triple bond yethu ikulo C lo wokuqala and then nanoma uyisa kwenye position still iku-C
Still the same thing, exactly. So propine, it is still fine for this one. It is still fine, but kunzima to everyone to get that sense, okay? That is why I need to, for safety purposes, just indicate the position once you have got more than 2 carbons. But this one is acceptable to say that this is propine, because that's the only position that you can have for the triple bond, okay? But to make things a bit less complicated, call it 1-propine is still correct. Let's go to C, guys. What is the name of C? Yes, Nogu.
It's 2-butane.
So this is 2-butane. What is the other way of writing this compound?
It's but dash 2 dash YNE.
Dash YNE. Guys, is this hard? What?
No sir.
So you can just count from right to left or from left to right. For this one, it will still be the same thing because it's a kind of a symmetric, it's kind of bit symmetrical here. And our triple bond is between carbon 2 and carbon 3. But when are you going to write carbon 2? Because that is a kind of the lowest position, that we take the smallest number there. Okay, and then there we have it. Now we are given this one as a molecular formula, which is a compound D, or we are given as a condensed formula. So our compound D here is represented as a condensed formula CH3CH2CCCH2CH3. Let us try to plot this, guys. I want to see if you guys know how to plot. Can you guys see that this is an alkene, an alkyne before plotting it? Are you guys able to see that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, other people can see it, but if you cannot see that this is an alkyne, guys, please write the structural formula first. The structural formula, of course, it will be CH3, C with 3 carbons, and then this is going to be CH2, and then this is going to be CCC. So we're having 3 carbons that are following each other, and the third carbon, it is bonded to 2 hydrogens, and then the last one is CH3. So we can say that here these carbons are not balanced in terms of their bonds. These 2 carbons, they must have 4 bonds in total, but they've got only 2. So it means that there must be what? Another 2 bonds between them, making this a triple bond. So give the name of this compound. Okay, let's just start with the writing, guys. Are we going to number the carbons from left to right or from right to left?
Both, sir.
Both is the same for this one. Both is the same for this one. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I can number it also from the right to the left. The carbon having the triple bond will still be carbon number 3 here. Okay. And give the name of this then. Let's hear the name of this. Yes, Nogu.
So it's 3 dash hexine.
Yes, this is 3 dash hexine. This is 3 dash hexine, or you can say that this is hex 3-ine. You see, guys, that this is a so fun. It's wonderful, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so this 3 is telling us that our triple bond is at carbon number 3. Although we know that a triple bond is between carbon 3 and 4, but we take the lowest number, the lowest numbered carbon, which is carbon 3. And then the last one, which is compound E. What is going to be our compound E?
Butyl dash 1 dash ine.
So but-1-ine. Okay. Or what is the other way that you can write? What is the other way of writing this?
1 dash butane.
Yes, this is 1 dash butane. Guys, when you write a number and a letter, you separate them using a dash, of course. For example, between 1 and this B from butane, you write a dash. You separate having with this dash. It separates a number and a letter. So you guys can just see here that when you number from the carbon closest to the functional group. Of course, it must be 1, 2, 3, 4, not the other way around. Because if you number the other way around, your triple bond is going to be so far away. Okay, so your triple bond, in other words, as Orifa said at some point, it must occupy the lowest position possible. So this is but-1-ine, or you can say this is 1-butane. Is it hard, guys, naming the unbranched alkynes?
No.
sir.
So any questions, guys, before we go?
We went homework, sir.
This is the homework. You want homework? All right. So this is your homework, guys. It's activity 1. You are naming unbranched hydrocarbons. So we are combining alkanes, alkynes. So it's from 1.1 until 1.1 and 1.2. Each question having 4 sub questions, of course. The first one, you have to name the following hydrocarbons using the IUPAC naming system. Then the following one, you need to know how to write the structural and the condensed formula for each of the following compounds. You can be given a name and you just need to write the structural formula from the name. And then for D, 1.2D, you guys can see 1.2D, it is saying but-3-ene. And my brackets here are saying explain why this naming is wrong. I want to know why this name is wrong. Explain why but-3-ene doesn't exist actually. Okay, with that in mind, guys, let us close our eyes and let us pray. Siyabonga Baba, siyabonga Nkosi, siyabonga Moya nosipha uNkulunkulu usuku namhlanje Baba, nosipha namandla uNkulunkulu okufunda nokufundisana Baba. Siyabonga uNkulunkulu nokusikhulisa Baba, siyabonga uNkulunkulu nokuthi ube nathi Baba, wasithwala Baba. Njengoba sesolala uNkulunkulu omunye nomunye Baba, sicela Nkosi usivikele Baba, ususe bonke ubumnyama lethu ukukhanya kwakho Nkosi. Sikholela uNkulunkulu inqubekela phambili Baba, bonke abafundi abakhona Nkosi kule ndawo Baba. Sikholela uNkulunkulu yonke into Baba ebahambele kahle Baba. Kufezekiswa kwakho umbuso Nkosi wehle wethu namhla kuze kuphathe naphakade. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, guys, have a good night rest, and we'll see each other on Saturday.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Good night.